Joy McCarthy, welcome back to the Visionary Life podcast. It's been about 3.5 years since you were last on the show. So it has been some time. There's been a lot that's been happening over the past few years, and really excited to sit down and catch up on all things life, business, joyous health. So thank you for coming back onto the show.
Well, thank you for having me. And when you just said 3.5 years, I can't believe it's been that long. Time flies.
It sure does. And
Holy
speaking of
cow.
time flying, I want to go back to a very early story that you once told on another podcast about starting your business and investing $250 in a magazine ad. And you tell this funny story that you actually upgraded your voicemail storage plan because you thought you were going to get all of these phone calls. And it's like, what if 30 people call me off of this ad? And I
Yeah.
believe that the end result was that nobody actually called your
Correct.
voicemail.
Nope.
So
Nobody called my voicemail. I was I had such high hopes. And then I was so let down, but I very quickly realized, okay, I need to pivot.
mhm.
Clearly putting this ad, like doing a print ad, is not the way to go.
Yeah. And I think this is such an interesting story to kick off on because a lot of the listeners are starting their business. And for some reason, there's this story we tell ourselves that I need to do paid ads right away
Yes.
versus just getting your feet wet and building organic community and maybe testing your message on social media to see, do people even want this service? So I'm curious, what was like the lesson for you out of that $250 spent? Because I'm sure it taught you a lot about how you did need to do your marketing.
Yeah, I love that question. Even though that would have been back in 2009, things have changed a lot, obviously, but you could apply that to now because you could take that $250 if you wanted and spend it on a Facebook ad or, to boost a post. And I'm not sure that that is the best use of money either. So I think, the lesson from that for me was to try different things, really. That if something doesn't work, like stop doing the same things over and over again when they're not working. And I feel like this applies to so many areas of our life. What is the definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and expecting a different result. So try different things in your business. If one thing doesn't stick, try different things in your life when it comes to your health. If you're trying to resolve a health issue, and what you're currently doing, you think it's the best way, but it's not working, it's time to pivot. And also see what other people are doing when it comes to your business. Look at what your competition is doing. Look at what people are doing in a completely different space, because there might be something there that inspires you, and helps you be more creative to problem solve and figure out how can you better reach your audience that doesn't cost you money. Because you know what, I have to tell you, we have spent a lot of money at Joyous Health over the years on trying to do like different Facebook ads. And now as I'm talking about this, someone who does Facebook ads is probably going to listen to this, and then they're going to email me and be like, Joy, let me tell you, I
I
have the
can help
solution.
you.
Oh my God, please, if you're listening to this, don't email me and say that. We tried so many different agencies, and everyone promises like, I know how to crack the code. And no, unless I know a business owner who spends tens of thousands of dollars a month on her Facebook ads, and she swears that's her marketing strategy, but look how much she's having to spend. So yeah, my long-winded answer is just, try something else. Just learn to pivot in business. That's really key.
Totally. And I think that we're often scared to adopt this mentality of experimentation. Like it's okay to invest the $250. That's great. But if it doesn't work, like don't keep doing it. Adopt that mindset of a scientist. This was an experiment. Maybe
Yeah,
I wouldn't call it a failure because you learned a lot, but it's okay that it didn't work. Now, what's the next experiment, right? Look at,
exactly.
what might be working for others, but don't assume that it's going to work for you. And yeah, to kind of embrace that journey of experimenting in marketing versus feeling like, oh my God, I did something wrong. It didn't work. I should just give up, right? Because it's going to
Yeah.
be the persistence and continuing to try to find what works for your business. So, super important and already a great lesson for anybody listening. And I love that you say, like, you tried all the Facebook ads, but at the end of the day, there's probably something else that is working way better for you already that you
Yep.
need to double down on, right?
Yep. Exactly.
Absolutely. So let's go. Actually, let's kick off with a celebration. I like to hone in on the wins, the milestones. So, because it's been maybe 3 or 4 years since our last episode that we aired together, I'd love to know what is something that you're really proud of, either in life or in your business, something that you feel very excited to share with us as a milestone of the last few years.
Yeah, I'd say a really big milestone for Joyous Health is that we really changed sort of our business strategy in terms of where we're going, what is our main source of revenue, what do we want to bring to the community. And so now, Joyous Health has always been about creating great content to educate and inspire people. But as part of that, we now also have an amazing e-commerce that we use. And we now, so over the last, well, I'd say, I'm trying to think, when we launched our skincare line in April 2021. So it hasn't been that long, actually, just over a year and a half, I guess now, if I'm doing the math right. But I'm most proud of our skincare line because that was a risk. I didn't know if people, I'm not an esthetician, I'm not a dermatologist. I have a lot of background in holistic beauty, but I wasn't sure how people would respond. But as everything, just like all of the products that we have at Joyous Health, which we don't have a ton of products, very small, highly curated, really good ingredients, we made sure we really took the time to make really good quality products, do the testing, do the R&D. And I'm just so proud because it's been a huge accomplishment because people love it. They're loving our skincare. It's our #1 selling product now. Like our skincare products are doing amazing. And I'm so proud of it because not only is it great for us, but safe for the planet. It's just, it's really great. So I'm most proud of launching that. And then it's been exciting to pivot our business and really be focused on our e-commerce and like not be trying to do, like when I last talked to you, and a lot of times when people interview me, they're like, you do so much stuff. Like, how do you do it all? Like, how are you not tired all the time? But I feel like we're so much more focused. And that feels really good. That we're more focused on building the brand. And we're also in 2023 going to be relaunching our brand. So it's going to be changing. Our products are going to change from being called Joyous Health to something else because we want to give it its own thing. And we want to shine the light on that. Joyous Health is still me and the blog and the content, but we want to take our brand to a whole new level. So that's something that's up and coming.
It's so exciting, and congrats on the skincare launch. And we'll definitely link it in the show notes and encourage people to go try it. And I love that what you're saying is like, you've actually been thinking kind of like big picture strategic and are making some big changes that oftentimes in the first few years of business or in the first 5 years, we're just trying to keep our head afloat. So we do all the things, right? It's like we're on YouTube, we have a podcast, we send out emails, we're doing blogs, we're launching courses. And that can feel like completely manic at times, right? And people are like, yeah, she does a lot of things, but we kind of come to a point where it's like, I need to simplify. And it's like, what do I want to be the subject matter expert in versus, maybe having myself spread so thin and feeling like I'm not giving 100% to anything. So it sounds like you guys have had those discussions as a team and are ready to kind of enter that next chapter with a bit more focus and strategy. So that must feel really good and almost like a relief that you have that direction for the coming months, right?
Yeah, because I always felt like, we launched our first body care products in 2013 with deodorants and body butter, but it always just felt like this hobby, like this side project. Like we have these products, great, but we're doing all these other things, our ebooks and online programs. And we decided a few years ago, it's no longer the side project. It's the main thing. And it's just, I feel like it has been successful because it's not only something that I'm passionate about, I'm also like, it's really helped me grow as a nutritionist because I've been taking a course on integrative dermatology. And I feel like when I'm starting to feel like bored, I was starting to feel like a few years back, a bit bored in the business because I'm like, I just need to grow. I need to learn more. And skincare has always been something I just love natural beauty and holistic beauty, but it's always been like a side thing. So it's been fun to, marry the passion with the education and to continue to grow. That doesn't mean I want to have like 250 products. I actually really don't want to do that, because it's interesting in talking to a lot of other brands. We went to the CHFA show on the weekend. I don't know if you were there too.
Yeah.
And it's been interesting talking to like bigger brands, and a common theme from a lot of them was, we really want to pare down the number of SKUs we have. We have like, one brand I was talking to has like 80 SKUs, and they're like, we want to have like 40. And that was a common theme. So, I'm just thinking about who listens to this podcast. And a lot of times we think we need to add more products. We need to have more services. We need to have more online programs, but sometimes it's actually better just to really focus on I'm not saying like a niche. I'm just saying like, focus in on fewer things and you won't feel so scattered. And it's just easier to market that to your community as well, when you're not trying to sell them on 5 products, 5 services, 2 ebooks. So that was just an interesting learning from other businesses that have been around, 15 plus years, who are very, very successful, is that they're paring down.
Yeah, I remember that when I worked at Garden of Life, we were just launching into Canada, and we came in with like something like 200 SKUs under all of their umbrella brands. And by the end of 2 years with them, we had gotten down to 25, because only 25 were selling. And it was almost like that 80-20 principle. Like 20% of your products are going to produce 80% of your revenue. So it's like, we might as well just pare it back and really focus on the money makers and the ones that are actually driving revenue. So yeah, definitely a very resonant story. So speaking of kind of the vision moving forward and how you've been, thinking about where Joyous Health is going long term, I also know that you still play a very active role in the day-to-day operations. And I read on one of your Instagram posts, probably from a year ago, that you are still on the front lines, engaging in your YouTube comments, on your own Instagram, on your social media. I'm curious, why is that something that you still feel like you want to hold on to? Why is it important to you to be in the DMs, to be in the comments, and actively chatting with your community?
You sound like a question that my husband asks me on a weekly basis.
Get out of there.
Joy, why are you doing that? You know what? There's a few reasons. Number 1, I really enjoy it. Number 2, I love to know what the community is thinking and feeling, what they want. I feel like if I disconnect myself from that, then I don't really know. I don't know, are people loving this content? I don't know if people want to learn more about oil of oregano. I know that it is a good idea to step back. I just really enjoy it. We do have so we have 4 full-time, including myself and Walker. We have 2 other people that work with us. And we do have someone that is on the front lines answering the questions on like our contact form, for example. But yeah, I still do social media, and it's just something that I enjoy. I get if you don't enjoy it, it's easier to hand off, but it is something that I like, with specifically because we have 2 Instagrams. We have Joyous Health and Shop Joyous Health. I do need to hand off one of them for sure. I just need to find the right person to like manage our social. So if anyone is listening to this, send me an email, because I might be looking for you. But yeah, I would love some help, because honestly, it's a lot. It's definitely a lot, but I just really like it.
Well, and I think that's a good observation too, that when something brings you joy, or when you are, I don't know, lit up by one of the tasks that you're doing, that maybe is like a $20 an hour task, but at the same token, it brings you a lot of meaning and it lights up your passion and your spark for the business, there's no reason to hand it off necessarily. So I think it is an important reminder that you don't have to pass everything off, because then you risk losing touch with the business and what your community is actually saying. And I'm curious, is there anything else that is still something that you feel like you want to hold on to, like a task, whether it's social media content creation or emails, something that really lights you up in your work week that you still feel that zest towards doing, even though someone else could do it for you?
Yeah. Not really. I feel like other stuff I've definitely passed off. Like I have someone that helps me with content creation for the blog specifically. So sort of more like long form content creation. But I feel like I've passed off the stuff that I want to. And like the stuff you mentioned, like I'm still have a hand in the email creation, in the social media content creation, all that stuff. I do want to hand off some of the social media content creation. Well, I don't think I'm answering your question properly. What's your
No, you
question?
totally are. The things that
Okay.
you kind of hold on to,
Oh, that's what it
even
was. Is
though
there
maybe,
anything else? Yeah.
yeah,
Is there anything else that I could let go that someone else could do? I don't think so, to be honest.
yeah.
Because like I said, we have 4 people total. And I feel that everyone is doing their role to their talents and their skills right now.
You know how some people, when they start their business, they have this grand 10-year plan, 20-year plan. Did you ever imagine that this would be like, you're over a decade into your business? Could you have ever
Yeah.
predicted where you'd be? Or do you feel like you had to go through the natural cycles of entrepreneurship and evolutions and pivots in order to see this? Like, what was your kind of take on the 10-year vision?
Yeah, I know this isn't maybe the right answer that everyone wants to hear, but I didn't really have like a set, this is where I want to be in 5 years. This is where I want to be in 10 years. Because my mindset was always, I just want to make sure that whatever I'm doing, I love it and the community loves it too. And if both of us love it, and it is also making us money because I'm in a for-profit business,
Yep.
then let's keep doing that. And if it's not working, let's change it.
Mm-hmm.
So I've never been like so set in stone, which I think is a good thing. I use the example of when we used to have a natural toothpaste, which I loved, and we had it for like quite a few years and it just wasn't selling, but it was such a great product and the people who loved it loved it. And that was a hard decision to like stop selling it because it wasn't profitable. It was really expensive to make. The raw materials were expensive and it just wasn't selling well. So like, as an entrepreneur, you have to just let go of some stuff. And so I think, when it comes to like having a vision, you have to be okay with like changing the path. And I think that's one thing I'm very good with. I'm very adaptable and able to change that path. I don't feel like so stuck in a rut of having to be a certain way. That being said, it could be, a disadvantage in some ways too, because perhaps if I was like, okay, the toothpaste is going to be the number one selling product, I'm going to get there, then maybe I would, but I don't have a lot of patience. I'm not. Walker, my husband, my business partner, is the more patient person than me. So I feel like when I see that something's really not working, even though like I said, I didn't want to give up on the toothpaste, but I definitely, it's my goal to just continue to grow Joyous Health. I want to be, when I'm 60 or 70 years old, I still want to be working in the business. Yeah. And I think, that's so important for healthy aging brain, is to stay really interested in what you do and continue to challenge yourself. And so I don't really see myself retiring. I see myself working less, but at this point, I know I'm only 44, but I just don't see myself like, just relaxing on a beach 60 onwards. I just really like what I do.
I love that. And I think that is kind of a recipe for success, is to love what you do.
Yeah.
And love that you say you're always continuing to challenge yourself, because we know that oftentimes when we kind of fall into a rut or we feel like we're stagnant, the business often suffers a little bit. So it's important to figure out like what gets me out of those ruts. And you mentioned something about enrolling in a course around dermatology, right?
Yeah.
Aside from that, like what are some other things that you've done to maybe reinvigorate yourself when you feel like you're just not as excited about getting started your work week? What do you do to get out of that rut or just that mood that we all face?
Yeah, there's two things that specifically come to mind when you've said that, and that is listening to podcasts. I listen to other people,
Same.
like you. I know we're both lovers of podcasts, so there's definitely podcasts that I listen to. Some have absolutely nothing to do with health, but they just inspire me. And that really, really invigorates me and gets me thinking about ideas for our business. And so much of what I do is creative because I create so much, whether it's recipes or writing content. I create a lot. So it helps me get into a more creative space, as weird as that sounds, listening to other people. And I know you're a nature lover too, but getting out into nature is always when I feel like stuck in a rut. I often do that, in the middle of the day. If it's like 12:30, I've had my lunch and I have like a little bit of a break, I'll just like leave the office and go for like a quick 25-minute brisk walk. And that always makes me feel reinvigorated for the day. And then, sometimes when, the reality is I just don't feel motivated. And the nice thing about having your own business is that I don't have a boss who's telling me I have to work 9 to 5. So if I really am having like kind of like a crappy day, I'm not feeling my best, I just kind of end my day.
Mm-hmm.
And, I start out a bit earlier the next day and, it's okay. We're only human. Sometimes we don't feel our best. And, I'm okay with that. I didn't used to be okay with that, but I'm okay with that now.
Yeah, that really resonates with me too, because I feel like I used to operate on such a strict 9 to 5. And I'm
Yeah.
like, why am I doing this? Like it
Right.
kind
You
of
don't
goes
have
against
to.
my natural cycles. And it was only in the last 2 years that I really started tuning in to, oh, maybe I just work a few hours, then I take a
Yeah.
nice long outdoor break, go biking, and then come back. But I think there's this natural tendency, if you did used to work any sort of structured 9 to 5, that you kind of think that's the way it has to be done. But it is important to
So
tune
true.
in. And if you're not well mentally, physically, emotionally, how can you be at your laptop creating incredible content or really focusing on the strategic picture of your business if your brain's not there or if your mind isn't there? So it's really important and a great reminder.
Yeah, it is really a good reminder. I hope people really take that to heart who are listening, because I know that over the years I have forgotten that like I am the boss. Like I don't have to work. I decide what hours I want to work.
Yep.
So, I know that can be harder for people who are seeing clients one-on-one. You can't always, but at the same time, you can decide Friday afternoons,
Yep.
I'm not going to take clients, past 2 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
And just, you're the boss, you decide, you decide, what works best for you. And that's so important for your overall health and well-being.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, you've learned so many business lessons and have continued to evolve and grow. I'm curious, is there anything right now that you or your team is trying to problem solve for? Like something that you feel like, I haven't quite figured this next chapter out or this area of business growth out yet?
Oh yeah, there's a million things. Where do we start,
Yeah,
Kelsey?
one
Can you
that's
solve
topical
all my
right now.
problems?
Yeah, is it TikTok? Because I'm still perplexed by
Okay,
TikTok
well, we
too.
can talk about TikTok. Okay, so TikTok's a good one because so many people were saying for so long, Joy, you need to be on TikTok for Joyous Health. And I was like, oh, it's just like one more thing.
Yeah.
I'm always struggling with Instagram. Like I feel like I've been stuck at 105,000 on Instagram for 2 years. Like honestly, I grow 250 people every day and I lose 250 people every
What
day.
the heck?
No matter what I try, no matter what I do, if I post more, if I post less,
Yep.
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So in the summer, I decided in July, I thought, you know what? I'm going to go on TikTok and I'm going to post every single day from Monday to Friday.
Good
And
for
I'm going to
you.
do that for at least 6 weeks. And I'm going to see what happens. Let me tell you, TikTok is the place to be because it's so much easier to
Stop
grow.
it.
Yes, the algorithm is in your favor. I feel like on
Yeah.
Instagram and Facebook, how they've developed their algorithms, I'm sorry to say, I don't want to let everyone down, but it is very, very difficult to grow.
Yep.
I have experienced that myself. I've been on there since 2013 was when, actually, so it's 10 years. I've been on
Yep.
Instagram for 10 years, and went on TikTok and I'm already at 25,000 and that's only since July. And I'm not doing anything different than I've been doing on Instagram. So it's been interesting because some of the content that does amazingly well on TikTok, I've tested it and put it on Instagram and it like falls flat. So I'm like, it's not the content. It's who is actually who is my content reaching? So, so yeah, I think you should try TikTok as much as like, it seems
Well,
here's the thing, don't get sucked into it.
yes.
Looking at other people's content,
Big
go on
time.
it to engage, because what I love about it, and this is what I loved about Instagram in the beginning, is that on TikTok, people ask you questions and they engage with you and there's comments.
Big
You know,
time.
I
Yeah.
love that. That's what I love about social media. And that just doesn't happen anymore, because
No.
unless you're posting something on Facebook or Instagram that is sparking moral outrage in everybody, then you're going to get lots of comments. I was actually just listening to a podcast recently talking exactly about this, how the algorithms on Facebook and Instagram are set so that when people are talking about things that spark moral outrage, they send more people to you. So things that get people upset, alarmist things, are what thrive on those social platforms. And so far, you know, let's hope it continues this way on TikTok for me. But so far, I'm not seeing that at all. I'm seeing like how it used to be on Instagram back in the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's like, I don't want to have to be polarizing necessarily when I
Right,
log on to
exactly.
social media and create. Like, we're creating content that's hopefully uplifting and inspiring,
Yes.
but apparently that's not what the algorithm wants, because people
No.
aren't firing back at each other. So yeah, I think again, this is such a great reminder. Like, you took an experiment out. You said 6 weeks, post on TikTok Monday to Friday. What's the worst that happened? But so many people, they're like, I don't know, I should have the perfect strategy. I should study everybody else's TikTok for 2 years. But it's like, guys, we got to keep evolving here. Go test it out, see if it brings you joy, see if the content's picking up. And if at the end of the 6 weeks, you're like, I hated that, fine, give it up, go back to blogging. But sounds like you've kind of found a groove on it, and maybe it doesn't feel hard and it feels light to show up and create on that platform. So
it feels less. Yeah. I feel like the other thing is I can be more just like myself. I feel like it's just feels so much more casual.
Yep.
You know, it's just easy. I can just show up and talk about, you know, what is my favorite natural health supplement right now? Or, you know, what is my favorite skincare ingredient? It just feels, maybe I need to feel that way more with Instagram and Facebook, but I don't, because I just feel like it's not, the growth is just not happening there. It's just not.
So posting 5 times a week, and you post content multiple times a day on different platforms. Is there a set plan, or do you also honor that creative flow in you that's like, I'm baking banana bread, I'm just going to share? Like, how much of the content is pre-planned versus behind the scenes? And what is kind of the split there?
Yeah, those are great questions. So I use Buffer, which I'm sure you're familiar with.
Yeah.
So for Facebook, everything is pre-scheduled 2 posts per day. But then I allow spontaneity, especially with Instagram, like with my personal Joyous Health Instagram, personal/business, whatever. It is a mix of both. Like I use a tool, a scheduling tool in something called ClickUp, and I have like a social calendar. So over the next 2 weeks, I have an idea what I'm going to be sharing on the Shop Joyous Health Instagram, on Joyous Health Instagram. I have an idea, and then those are more a little bit spontaneous. Like if I'm making banana bread, like you said, then I'll share it on Instagram. So it's a mix of both, really. I think it's important to have a plan so that you have ideas. Otherwise, if you only go by spontaneity, then you don't have consistency. So in social media, in many things in life, consistency is so key for success. So I like to think that I'm pretty consistent with social media, and also with updating content on our blog as well, and on our YouTube channel. Consistency is key. So I think, you know, for entrepreneurs, just deciding what that consistency looks like. Is it, you know, 2-3 times a week? Is it 2-3 times a day? Just decide what works best for you. It can be easy to get caught in this trap of what other people are doing, or researching how many times should you post a day on Instagram. You know, because there's a million different explanations. So I think decide what you can commit to, and then stay consistent with that, and allow yourself to be spontaneous, which is that's what I've done.
I love that too. And yeah, I mean, some of the best ideas come to me when, I'm out for a walk or just
Right.
randomly, and I could never have imprinted that into a content calendar. But yeah, it's like allowing for that ebb and flow. So, in this chapter of your business, are you still kind of trying to learn from businesses bigger than yours, or are you really kind of just solid in the vision that you and Walker and your team have? Or are you still kind of seeking a lot of outside mentorship and attending conferences? I'm just curious where you stand on
Yeah.
that.
No, that's a good question. I feel like we have a really solid foundation and business plan and know where we're moving forward. But that being said, like we always attend the Ad World conference. I don't know if you're familiar with that
Yeah,
one.
that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think that's like twice a year. So we enjoy going to that. Well, we don't go to it. It's obviously online.
Yeah.
I love, just hearing your podcast is obviously a great resource for entrepreneurs. I also really love, we have like a really tight network of other entrepreneurs who are also all our good friends. There's
Mm,
about 12 of us who are all entrepreneurs and nutritionists.
nice.
So we bounce ideas off of each other a lot. We see each other often and we have a group chat. I think group chats are really great to have, whether it's, iMessage or WhatsApp or Signal, have group chats with other entrepreneurs, bounce
Mhm.
ideas. Like when we're trying to figure out a strategy, for our email campaigns, talking to other people and finding out what's working for them is really key. So we're always, we always want to evolve, and we definitely don't have all the answers. So we want to just keep evolving, talking to others, but we still know where we want to go. Just the how we like to, always be learning.
It's such an important and sometimes under talked about topic is like the network of people that you're able to tap into, whether it's a
Yes.
group of friends that you just have organically, or maybe you go on a retreat once a year where you're immersed with other entrepreneurs for a few days, or maybe you
Yes.
have a
Yes.
formal mastermind. But honestly, like I would love to see a breakdown of like what growth occurs because of the right people being in your circle and being in your corner with you, because I really don't think we're meant to do this alone, and it
No.
can be a very isolating journey. You work from home, you feel like you're facing all your own kind of challenges, especially if a lot of your friends or neighbors don't necessarily understand the business or where
Yes.
you're
Yes.
going. So it's just important to find those people, and it can be challenging to figure out where you can open up and who to chat with. But I think that is just a lesser discussed piece of running a
Yes.
successful business.
Yeah, yeah, it is true. And I love talking to other business owners. I remember a couple of weeks ago, I was interviewing the founder of Delish Cosmetics,
Cool.
and she has a, great clean beauty brand. I love her lip glosses.
Yep.
And I love talking to her on the phone because she has so many unique ideas that
Yep.
I just like never even thought about. And, she's talking to different people and doing her own research and then just like bringing both our minds together. It's just great to talk to people
Yeah.
who also have their own businesses. And oh, my cat's coming over.
Hey, kitty. I love it. Cats are
Yeah,
welcome on
I
the
just find
pod.
there she is. I just find I get so inspired. I really enjoy talking to other people and finding out what works for them and what
Mhm.
doesn't work for them too.
And it's like when you get into those conversations, it almost like activates a new part of your brain that maybe you just aren't activating in your traditional family life or whatever you're doing on a daily basis. So, yeah,
Yeah.
just kind of cracking into a new
Yes.
area and dreaming of
Totally.
new opportunities. Well, I would be a fool to let you go without asking a few health tips. So I'm curious, for
Yeah.
an entrepreneur listening right now who's feeling like they've kind of got the basics in order with their health, but something's not quite right still. Maybe their energy is just a little bit low, but they feel like they're eating right. They drink their water, they're
Hmm.
sleeping, but they're looking to optimize. What are some of the things that you do to optimize, and maybe those 2.0 tips that could help any entrepreneur to perform a little bit better?
Yeah, I think taking breaks is really key. It makes this question kind of makes me think of this pie chart I shared, I think a couple of weeks ago, about what basically the top is what I thought would make me productive, hard work, what actually does. And on the bottom, it's like exercise, healthy eating, sleep, time out, and then hard work is in there, but it's maybe only like 20%.
Mhm.
So in terms of staying healthy, if you eat well and you exercise, but you're feeling blah at work, well, what's the missing piece? Like maybe you need to take a break. Maybe you need to go hiking on the weekend. Or like you were saying, like go for a midday bike ride. If you're asking me what I do personally, like for me, eating well is definitely a priority, and taking my natural health supplements,
Mm.
that it definitely keeps me on my game. And then having a social life. When I first started out as a nutritionist, I was like, nope, I'm working hard, everybody. I don't have time for anybody else. I was like the worst friend.
Yep.
I used to cancel on people all the time. I would go 6 months without seeing a close friend. I stopped
Mhm.
doing that quite a few years ago. And I feel like I'm a good friend now,
Yeah.
because I make time, for my social life, because it's so important. And, that also includes my family. Like my
Yeah.
family is obviously my number one. I have a daughter, as you know. So, those are non-negotiable things, like going to pick her up from school. I don't want someone else to pick her up at school. I want to be there at 3:30 to see her smiling face and hear all about her day. And if that means that after she goes to bed, I need to do some work, then that's what I do.
Mhm. I love that. And it's really about asking yourself too, like, what are the things that I maybe used to do in my 20s that really excited me that perhaps into my 30s or 40s that I feel like I've given up or have not prioritized, and making sure you carve out time to add those things back in. Because as we know, it
Yes.
helps us to show up at our computer and show up for our work in a completely different mental state. And there's part of me that's like, I know that translates, like that energy I bring to my
Yeah.
content or writing a caption or recording a podcast. People can tell kind of if it came from a
Yeah.
place of enthusiasm or if it just feels so forced. It's probably because I was pushing too hard or hustling too
Right.
hard. So it's like
Yeah.
the energetics of content creation. I don't know if that's a
Totally.
thing, but you feel it internally when
Yeah.
you're forcing
Absolutely.
things.
I totally agree.
Absolutely. Okay, so I know the podcast is coming back or almost is back, but can we get a snapshot of what's going on in your world, what's coming up, and where we should connect with you and how we can support you?
Yeah, totally. So the Joyous Health podcast actually has a big change. So we're going into our 9th season, which begins in October. I'm not sure when this is going to air exactly, but so as you know, Walker did the podcast with me for the last almost 70 seasons, but he's not going to be doing it with me
You
anymore.
kicked him out.
Pretty much. No, he kicked himself out. You know what? The initial podcast was going to be just him and I talking in our banter,
Yep.
and it grew more into having other experts on.
Hmm.
And because that was where I just really wanted to interview people,
Yep.
and he wanted to just have him and I, having it sort of be more of that. So it changed, and I'm okay with it. And so is he. He's happy to not have that like on his having to do that anymore. So the Joyous Health podcast will relaunch a little bit. It's not going to look exactly the same, but still amazing guests. I interview a lot of people in the wellness space, obviously. So I've got some amazing guests coming up, and yeah, Joyous Health podcast. You can find it wherever you're looking for podcasts.
Amazing. Cannot wait to see this next evolution of the show and just admire you for continuing to evolve and grow and not be afraid to change and to respond to the market. So congrats on all of your successes, and thank you for opening up and being so vulnerable and just having a great conversation today. So thank you for being here, Joy, and we wish you all of the best.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.